Hello, I'm Kimberly, and welcome to the weekend edition of the Native News Update. It's Friday, September 7th, and many of the stories you hear here can be found at IndianCountryTV.com. And here's the news today from the Associated Press and other Native news sources. The Hopi Tribe will be one of the first Native American nations to increase criminal sentences under the Tribal Law and Orders Act that was passed into law in 2010. The law is aimed at curbing crime in Native communities, particularly decreasing violence against women. To comply with the law, the Hopi Nation has updated its criminal code for the first time since 1972. Previously, every crime committed on the Northern Arizona Reservation, up to and including murder, was considered a misdemeanor with a maximum sentence of 1 year behind bars. Under changes that go into effect later this month, people convicted of a new class of felonies will face up to 9 years. Keep in mind that these sentences won't necessarily preclude longer federal sentences for serious crimes committed on reservation land. Criminal prosecutions have increased by about 25% on American Indian reservations in the Dakotas in recent years, though tribal officials say public safety personnel and funding are lacking. 15 U.S. attorneys who make up the Department of Justice's Native American Issues Subcommittee met in Bismarck on September 6 to discuss public safety issues with tribal leaders. Standing Rock Tribal Chairman Shelley Murphy says the reservation's police force is short-staffed and sometimes only one officer is on duty to patrol the reservation that straddles North Dakota and South Dakota. Standing Rock Council member Sharon Two Bears says tribes have to compete for public safety funding and the application process is confusing. She says the housing often isn't available on the reservation for police officers. The Arizona State Board of Education has approved a policy to allow tribes to certify speakers of their own languages to teach in public and BIE-funded schools. A Native American advisory group worked with the state to develop a new policy. Since most language experts, in some tribes the only fluent language speakers still around, are not certified teachers, and the No Child Left Behind requires that classroom teachers be certified. 8 of the New Mexico's Pueblo Governors traveled to Washington, D.C. to take part in the screening of a film that traces the intriguing story of the Lincoln Canes, which were given to the Pueblos in recognition of their right to self-govern. At 7 p.m. the evening of September 8th, Canes of Power will be screened at the National Museum of the American Indian. In 1863, President Lincoln gave silver-tipped ebony canes to governors of each New Mexico's 19 American Indian pueblos. These canes symbolize the authority of each pueblo to self-govern. No other U.S. president has ever extended a symbol of self-determination and self-governance to a Native American tribe. What was the meaning of these canes? Why did President Lincoln, at the height of the Civil War, make this an effort? Still revered as living symbols of the Pueblo sovereignty, each cane is in use in Pueblo ceremonies and governance functions today. The canes are held with reverence and respect, passed down through generations of tribal leaders.
Gifted to the Pueblos first by the Spanish around 1620, then the Mexican government in 1821, and in 1863 by the American President Abraham Lincoln, the canes symbolize the sovereignty of the Pueblo people and the authority of their tribal governments. In the 1860s, New Mexico was a remote frontier of the United States, populated mostly by Native Indians and descendants of Spanish settlers. It was considered uncivilized and foreign to the Americans. The United States was divided north and south, torn apart by the bloody conflict of the Civil War. In New Mexico Territory, President Lincoln's policies starved and imprisoned the Navajo and Apache, yet he honored the Pueblos as worthy of sovereign status. Why?
Wherever we are, those canes guide us, lead us, and speak for us.
Something happens spiritually that for whatever reason we end up with a cane here. And that's the way I look at it. that maybe our prayers, maybe our way of life just perpetuated this thought process, and it came back in a positive note. Because here it is, I mean, we didn't create this, it was given to us by the United States government.
It's hard to really know what Lincoln was thinking during this time. He was so consumed with the Civil War. Here he was fighting the right to secession. Here he was fighting the right to sovereignty of these southern states. And then out west is talking about granting sovereignty to these Pueblo Indians along the Rio Grande.
President Lincoln tried to reassure them, you have sovereignty, you have this land, you are governing what happens within your land. And that's really what the cane embodies. The cane is sovereign to sovereign.
It was not the federal government that gave us sovereignty, not the nation's call. It's something that we believe in, bestowed upon us by the Creator, not by any government.
Whatever his reasons, what is certain is that the Lincoln canes symbolize Lincoln's intent that there be a perpetual commitment of the United States government to honor Pueblo sovereignty.
Mir etsets utskai. Do heak no ek outjasho shahano titem shniutsronish. It was given a life and the ability to lead people. Given that life which will be eternity.
Produced by Silver Bullet Productions and narrated by Wes Studi, the film gives viewers an intimate look at how Pueblo leaders hold dear these canes of power. For more information, check out silverbulletproductions.com. Shelley Morningsong has composed a theme song, One by One, for the nonprofit group Futures for Children. This song, sung by Shelley and Fabian Fontenelle, reflects the mission of the organization to improve educational experience to empower American Indian children through leadership development and mentorship. Shelley embraces Native America and the world as a whole with her songs of compassion and understanding for all races and the joys and sorrows we all experience, as does her husband, Fabian Fontenelle. Fabian is a world-renowned men's Northern traditional dancer, storyteller, and historian. He is also a founding member of the American Indian Dance Company. Future for Our Children's three-circle of support includes youth leadership, friendship mentorship, and families in action to help bring self-sufficiency in Hopi, Navajo, Pueblo, and Mescalero Apache communities in Arizona and New Mexico, as well as the Cheyenne Arapaho tribes of Oklahoma. To check out the organization, you can visit futuresforchildren.org. And that's another roundup of news from Indian Country on this edition of the Native News Update. I'd like to thank you for joining me, and have a grand day.